There is a sleeping giant in the western part of the United States that awoke nearly 70,000 years ago. With its rise from slumber came unprecedented chaos and havoc that destroyed everything in its path. This sleeping giant is a supervolcano that lies beneath Yellowstone National Park. It is known as the Yellowstone Supervolcano. This supervolcano has a huge caldera that was formed after an eruption. It is also one of the few volcanoes on Earth that is capable of a supereruption. But despite geothermal activities, the possibility of a future eruption seems unlikely. However, the volcano has experienced two supereruptions or events. These two monstrous eruptions went as far as accumulating into 250 cubic miles of debris that was enough to bury Texas 5 feet deep. Not only that, the geysers and hot springs are also a direct result of the volcanic activity. But what would happen if Yellowstone decides to erupt anytime soon? Well, the answer is simple. It would cause disaster for most of the United States, much more bigger than 9/11. So would it be as deadly as to cause human extinction? You see, a massive eruption of the Yellowstone supervolcano would have regional effects. It might go as far as affecting global climate that might last decades or even centuries. States like Wyoming, Montana, and Idaho would be most affected, while the rest of the United States could be plunged into ashes. The eruptions would cause deadly lava flows that could result in the death of more than 90,000 people. The ash would be so thick that rescuers might even have a tough time doing their jobs because it would even stop air from traveling. The residue from the ashes might even cause a nuclear winter that might blanket the entire United States. It doesn't stop there. The sulfuric gases could even affect the world's water vapor, and the haze of gas could block the sunlight. Unfortunately, nothing would be spared once this supervolcano decides to erupt. Even plants and animals would not be saved. The drop in the temperature from the blocking of the sun would do a number on our food supply by reducing crop growth. Though it might seem that the Yellowstone supervolcano is dormant, that does not mean it doesn't cause seismic activities to happen sometimes. Take, for example, on August 7, 2024, there was an hypothermal explosion inside the Yellowstone Park. This hypothermal explosion sent debris and rocks flying, leaving people wondering if the explosion caused a new geyser. Also in January 2025, the Yellowstone Seismic Network located about 56 earthquakes in the Yellowstone Park region, while as at 2024, there were a total of 1,173 earthquakes in total. Although natural earthquakes are seen as a bad thing, when it comes to the Yellowstone's earthquake, it is a good thing. This is because the earthquakes help clear the plumbing system. It does this by helping to maintain the hydrothermal activity in the areas, thus leaving small fractures and conduits open that help supply water to the hot springs and geysers. Without these periodic disturbances called earthquakes, the conduits and fractures that supply water to the geysers and hot springs might become sealed with mineral deposits. But when would Yellowstone erupt? And is it overdue for an eruption? Scientists at Yellowstone Volcanic Observatory say that Yellowstone is not overdue for an eruption, and are reassuring everyone that a volcanic eruption is not possible anytime soon, but the question everyone wants to know is when exactly is soon? The chief scientist of the Yellowstone Volcanic Observatory, Dr. Michael Poland, says that soon is hard to define. Using a metaphor, he stated that, if you know how hot the burner is, how much water there is, that calculation is possible. Well, right now for Yellowstone, the burner is not on. So it would seem that right now the burner is not ignited at Yellowstone because there have been no signs that there would be an eruption in the nearest future. That sure sounds reassuring. Other scientists at the Yellowstone Volcanic Observatory are in support of Dr. Poland's view. They have determined that the current conditions are just not right for an eruption, that if there was going to be an eruption there would have been signs for months or even years. The scientists also reinstated that the earthquake and hydrothermal eruptions are expected seismic activities. Also, Dr. Poland and the fellow scientists at the Yellowstone Volcanic Observatory have been able to track the supervolcano chance of eruption by tracking the electric currents flowing deep within the Earth's surface. But some scientists believe that Yellowstone might still have about 100,000 years to go before another eruption. This is based on the average of just 2 time intervals that the volcano has erupted. Although other scientists dispute this, believing that another catastrophic eruption is possible, they are not entirely convinced that one will ever happen. But however, it is still important to be prepared for the event and to not be caught off guard when Yellowstone decides to rise from its slumber. It is important to also stay informed on warning signs like ground swelling or deformation and create evacuation plans with multiple routes. Although it is without a doubt that Yellowstone is one of America's biggest tourist attractions, receiving about 4.5 million people each year. Still, as much as it is a great tourist destination, it almost seems like a ticking time bomb that might explode any minute. Right now, it is dormant with just reasonable seismic activities, but it might not remain that way for long. So its best people began to get regular information about its activities. I would love to know what you think. Do you think there might be an eruption in the near future? Or do you agree with the scientist that we might be years away from an eruption? Leave your thoughts in the comments below, and if you would love to see videos like this, subscribe to the channel.